Beautiful. Next up here, we're going to take a look at this steering wheel. But firstly, let me just point out, look at this dash. I love the instrument cluster here, just how beautiful it is. It's fully digital. It looks fantastic. All right, so a few things to point out from the get-go. We've got our, at the top here, plus and minus buttons. So these are going to be our gear shifts. So we can select what gear we're in by pressing the plus or minus side here. And let's start off at let's actually go for our sticks first here. So off to the left-hand side there, as you see, there's a little button just on the tip of this one here. So this is going to be for our lane keeping system. So we can choose to keep the lane keeping system on. It's a matter of personal preference there. So we know that the system's on when a few things happen. So with the button press, you see how we've got the lanes appear or disappear here. That's how we know the lane keeping system's on. So one button press there, so we've got our high beams, pull in and out. One thing to note about the Nautilus is that it does have the ability for auto high beams as well. Off to the right-hand side here, we've got the amount of fluid that's going to be dispensed using this knob here. And then in order to get the windshield wiper fluid going, we're going to pull in towards us for the front windshields. There we go. And we're going to push away in order to get the back windshield. Now, one thing to point out is that right on the very end of it, the tip here, we're going to use this one here in order to use our rear windshield wiper. Now moving down, let's take a peek at all of the buttons on this thing here. So we're going to start off here, which is going to give us the adaptive cruise capability. So as you can see here, we've got the adaptive cruise on or off. So we know that it's on when this has happened here, or we can turn it off. So there's another one to point out here. So see these lanes here? So that's going to determine how close or far away you are from the vehicle that's in front of you. This one here is going to turn the lane centering system on. So the button on the end here is your lane keeping. The button here is the lane centering. So the keeping essentially is going to shake the steering wheel if you're starting to veer over without signaling, whereas this button here is actually going to pull you back in and recenter you in your lane. Adaptive cruise control is very straightforward. Once the system's on, you're up to the speed that you want to go. You're just going to press the set button. Once you've set, you can now either increase or decrease by 1 kilometer or mile per hour just by pressing the buttons here. We can cancel cruise control or we can turn it off. Now, one thing to note, this is adaptive cruise control. So one of the very nice things is that if the vehicle in front of you slows down, yours is automatically going to slow down as well. If they get out of the way or pull you back up to speed, yours is automatically going to pull you back up to that speed. So it's really, really neat. Off to the right-hand side here. So these buttons, we've got our phone either hang up or we can answer if we've got an incoming phone call. We've got our display options here now. So display options, we've got, as you see here, we can look at our different gauges. We're going to use this up and down here in order to move between our gauges. Or our screen, I should say, and then press and hold. We're going to press this button in order to select the screen here. Back button here. So whenever we need to go back, we're just going to press this button here, and that's going to get us back to this home screen. Now, if we go up and down, as you can see, we've got a few different options. We've got our tire pressure here, fuel economy, our trip 1, trip 2, etc. So in order to reset our trip counter, all we're going to do is press and hold this button here, and that's going to reset it for us. Next up is going to be our audio sources, so we can choose between AM, FM, Sirius XM, etc. Or if our phone was connected or an MP3 player, that would show up here. We've got 2 other buttons down here, so this one is going to be for our navigation. So we can either navigate home, previous destinations, rather than looking at the screen off to the right side. Press it again to make it go away. And the last one here is going to be for some added settings. So let's scroll up just a tiny little bit so we can work through those settings here. So we've got our drive control settings, which are going to be handling in drive or sport mode or performance in sport mode. Driver assistance gives us our blind spot indicators. So blind spot indicators are going to be these little guys. So that's going to highlight orange when somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Cross traffic alert if there's a vehicle or a pedestrian that's coming perpendicular from us. So either from the left side or the right side, it's going to alert us and let us know that there's somebody there. Cruise control, you've got 2 options. As a default, it's going to be set up for adaptive cruise control, or you can switch to your regular cruise control if you have that preference. Driver alert is tied into the lane keeping system. So the lane keeping system, we've got 3 different modes, either the alert, which is the steering wheel shake, the aid, which is going to recenter us and pull us back into our lane, or both the alert and the pull. So it's a matter of preference there. There's an intensity for the steering wheel shake. So that's either going to be a high, a medium, or a low shake. Moving back here, we've got pre-collision assist. So pre-collision assist, we can turn that off completely if we want to, but I recommend keeping it on. And the reason why is because of the automatic braking and the evasive steering. So if the vehicle recognizes that there's a potential collision, it's going to pre-charge the brakes for you. If you don't respond, automatic braking means it's automatically going to brake the vehicle to avoid a collision. If for whatever reason it can't avoid the collision, evasive steering is then going to take over and it's going to get you out of the way of a potential collision. So I do recommend to keep those ones on. It's a general safety thing. From here, we've got the ability to show miles and kilometers per hour. Jumping into vehicles, so we've got some lightings here. So auto high beams, as I was mentioning, we can pull this stick in order to turn the high beams on, or what I'd recommend, keep auto high beams on, because what's going to happen is it's automatically going to turn the high beams on or off for you as necessary. So if you're driving in a rural road, it's automatically going to bring them on, or it's going to turn them off as needed. So really, really recommend that one. Auto lamp delay is when the vehicle's locked. How long do the lights stay on for? Welcome lighting is going to be a light that's going to be shown on the outside of the vehicle as you approach. So the Lincoln logo is going to be on the driver and passenger side. It's really, really cool when that lights up at nighttime. Our oil life, if we do an oil change, we can reset it here. Moving down, we've got our wipers. So our courtesy wipe, when the vehicle is first on, it'll courtesy wipe for you. I recommend leaving that one off. Next one is going to be our rain sensing wipers. So yeah, can we control the wipers using this knob here? Absolutely. Or you can just let the vehicle do it for you and automatically adjust as necessary. Moving in here, we've got our alarm now. So we've got all sensors or perimeter sensors asking on exit. So everything is currently active. So outside sensors and our inside ones, we can turn them on or off as we prefer. The auto engine off, if you really, really despise that setting, we can turn it off here instead of using the button that's up here instead. Moving down, we've got our easy entry exit, which means that we've got our key fob on us. We don't have to hit the lock or the unlock button there. Our locks now, so we can either do an auto unlock, feedback on there. The big one is going to be our remote unlock. So remote unlock, what happens when the door is remote unlocked from the fob? Is it all doors or just the driver door that gets unlocked? Switch inhibit has to do with the key fob. If the fob is on you and you've locked your vehicle with the vehicle on, it's going to essentially lock the vehicle out. From here, we've got our mirrors. So auto fold mirrors when the vehicle's locked. Powered liftgate, we can either enable or disable the switch on the outside. And then what happens with a remote start? So very bottom here, we can turn the remote start off completely. We can have climate control on, so either auto or a last setting. With it on, that means it's automatically going to, with auto, it's going to automatically let the vehicle determine what the temperature should be. Last setting is exactly that. It's when the vehicle was last turned off, what did you have it set to? Seats and wheel, so are our seats going to turn on automatically, so those heated or cooled seats as well. And how long does the auto start last for? Is it going to last for 5, 10, or 15 minutes when we remote start? Last up is going to be our windows, so we can either remote open or close using the key fob here, which I had shown you earlier. And lastly is going to be the My Key. So My Key gives us the ability to set certain limitations on the vehicle. So if we want to have it so that when our key fob's lent out to somebody, it can only go a maximum speed, we can absolutely have it set up like that. And that's going to be our settings here in a nutshell. Last up here is we're going to take this thing for a spin and have a little bit of fun.